Okay, well, I'm going to be talking about thought forms and sigils. To start with, thought forms are basically any external energy that is created through mental concentration. They can be either positive or negative, and they can be unconsciously made, and they can be consciously made. Most forms of magic, especially desire magic, focus on creating thought forms, though most of them don't explicitly say it. Things like uh, candle magic, for example, they're creating thought forms, except they use the candle as a base to help them concentrate on what they're trying to do, and also it impresses that idea into the unconscious, which is what I think is half of magic. A lot of people suggest that it's all thought forms. Some people suggest that it's all just happening within the subconscious. I personally think it's a little bit of both. So, what really constitutes how thought forms are made? Two things is that the intensity of a thought form and its quality. So if it's a very high thought form, a very high thought such as love, it's going to be very bright. But if it's not very strong, it's probably going to dissipate very quickly. So the more energy that is put into a thought form, the more effective it's going to be for changing or getting things for you, and the longer it's going to last. And I think in the most dramatic example that I can think of would be ghosts type phenomena that are left behind after murders. These are known as residual hauntings, and they're simply the thought forms that are left behind after the killing or rape or whatever happened. People I've heard don't even necessarily have to be killed in order to leave these thought forms behind. It's basically just about how much mental energy is being produced. And eventually, these thought forms will dissipate, but because they're probably going to be around for a long time, depending on how strong the initial energy was. Basically, how this really is associated with magic, which is quite obvious, is that a lot of magic makes thought forms either directly or indirectly. And I would suggest the easiest way to do this would be to get into a meditative state. Then you want to think about the thing in which you desire, whatever that may be, and you focus on a ball of energy without in front of you, and you go through your intention and your focus on what you're trying to attract to yourself over and over again. Over 30 minutes or however long you want to do it. Obviously, the longer you do it, the more effective it's going to be. And once you get to the point where you feel like you're getting tired, basically, if it's an individual, for example, you'd want to visualize going through a portal, and then you want to send that in orbit around the person. It's obviously pretty simple. The hardest part is getting enough focus to make one that's powerful enough to actually affect something. And that's basically where meditation comes in, that it's really good to have practiced that, so it's not very strange for you to sit there for 30 minutes with a single point of concentration on this, and makes it very, very effective and easy. And then we're going to go to sigils. Now, in my mind, sigils are very similar, except a sigil, instead of just being meditated on, it has a physical symbol that is associated with it. And in Austin Osman Spare's work, he does it a little bit different than a lot of people. You write out the sigil, you write out the sentence, and then you take away the repeating letters, and you take away the vowels, and then you turn it into an ideograph or a picture from these things. And then you use meditation or sexual energy to activate it and get it put as far into your subconscious as possible, and develop as much energy around it as possible as well. What he suggests after that is usually burning it. We do this because we don't want the conscious mind to get in the way of what it's trying to do. And the best thing to do, and especially if it's something that's really important, something that you'd want to use every day, and he suggests this, once you activate the sigil, before you burn it, you want to use that sigil to inspire you to make what he calls a alphabet of desire. That is, just you take your sigil and kind of make a simplified version of it, and that is going to go into your arsenal of magical symbols that you'll use later, that are either used during meditation or just in random events when you might need that particular thought form to help you. So we can see they're both very effective, and everyone's different, so one might be a little bit more effective than for someone else, obviously. So, and to take this a little bit further, I'd like to talk about pathworking as well. Obviously, most people when they pathwork, they use the tree of life and the planetary symbols. And it's very effective because obviously you're contacting preset the thought structures or energy forms that are basically out there on the non-physical plane waiting to be tapped into. So you use these symbols to gain a psychic connection to these things in order to utilize them in your own life and doing magic. And magic even takes it further, obviously, to the point where eventually you might invoke that energy in the form of an entity. But I'm not really going to talk about that at the moment. So you're trying to tap into these preset thought forms because there's obviously something in them in which you want to be a part of yourself as well. Whatever that may be, whether that be beauty or intelligence or, whatever you want. There is a very powerful preset thought form out there for you waiting to be tapped into. And that's the importance of pathworking, is to contact these different layers of the astral plane, the mental plane, and the Buddhic plane. And you can use the planets, you can use the tree of life. What I would suggest that's extremely effective is using Enochian letters. And just like normal pathworking, these are based off preset energy structures as well. It's just a little bit different in that they represent different energy structures, that some of them which you will not find on the tree of life, and they're very unique. Also, when you're pathworking on something, and they do this as well with the tree of life, it gives you a very good base the next time you're going to work with that system, because these ideas have first of all been created, you're tapping into them already, since the language is the base of Enochian magic, you're tapping into its substructure. So next time you use it, it's going to make a much more intense effect on your mind because it's been weaved into your unconscious. And here's something that it's a little bit different, and it kind of goes in between the alphabet of desire and a sigil. Basically, what I've done here is, in Enochian, not all of the entities have a sigil associated with them, so I made my own. So basically, next time I'm trying to contact this type of energy, this is going to help me because I've meditated on it, I've focused it with the energy that I'm trying to contact, so the meaning is already present within my subconscious. This is going to remind me of what I'm trying to invoke, and it's going to remind my subconscious the energy that I've already invoked, so it's going to make it a bit easier for me to contact it again. This can be used for all magical systems. Anything that doesn't already have a sigil attached to it, it's very simple to make your own. And even though most people suggest getting them directly from the entity which you're invoking, sometimes you're having a hard time invoke it, so you'll use your subconscious to make one until the entity tells you the correct one, or maybe the entity will tell you that this one works fine. So that's definitely pretty subjective, but it's definitely worth knowing, and that you don't have to stick to one system if you don't want to. You can make it go in any direction that you would like to, and I would encourage it because you're trying to make it the most effective to you. It doesn't really matter the orthodox of how people do it, but if it's effective to you, that's all that matters. So I hope this has been rather enlightening. Thank you.